This is Oracle Week, Chapters 5 and 6. Trigger warnings include endeavor, suicidal ideation, depictions of gore and injury. Izuku rarely did day patrols. It was harder to escape from the fights during the day. However, he did still patrol in the deep alleyways occasionally. That's why he got a very bad feeling when he felt overwhelming hate approach him. He ducked into the shadows and the number 2 hero Endeavor strode past him confidently. Izuku's brain whirred in a mix of fear and confusion, but he decided to follow the number 2 hero. Izuku had been collecting blackmail on different heroes in case he needed to startle them to make an escape or piss them off. Normally, the personal information was harmless and just rare enough to get heroes to startle away from him. But for some reason, the higher in rankings Izuku got, the worse the secrets got. Number 3 hero Hawks suffered from severe PTSD and large fires and was a pawn for the hero commission. His real name, erased from history, was Kyogo Akami. He was bought by the Hero Public Safety Commission at the age of 6, and his mother was paid off to keep quiet. Number 1 hero All Might had a life-threatening injury on his left stomach. He refused to talk to Sir Night-Eye due to a prior disagreement. He could only do hero work for 3 hours a day. His civilian name was Toshinori Yagi, and he was going to work at UA next year in order to find a successor. This was stuff Izuku never wanted to know, but unwillingly found out before he started being a vigilante. Number 2 hero Endeavor had the highest property damage level to cases resolved ratio of any hero in the top 100, and had 4 children: Shoto Todoroki, Natsuo Todoroki, Fuyumi Todoroki, and Toya Todoroki. The latter had died in a training accident at a HPSC training field, but the body was never found. His wife was put in a mental hospital when Shota was 5 because she poured boiling water on his eye after a panic attack and has remained there ever since. Endeavor also tended to use excessive force, once putting a man in a coma and damaging his lungs from smoke permanently because he pickpocketed the hero on a dare. His casualty rate was also the highest of any hero in the past 20 years, every year. In short, Izuku didn't trust Endeavor with using a proper amount of force, so he decided against what his gut was begging him to do, and followed the flaming man on the rooftops. He saw the man turn the corner and head to a store, where he passed by a 20-something-year-old man with a knife and a wad of bills in his hand, sprint past him and duck into an alley to dodge the fire that was thrown at him, before he made it deep into the alley. Izuku pulled him up with a swipe of his grappling hook. The man regained his composure on the roof, and Izuku looked at him up and down. His wallet was slightly open, and he could see a picture of him standing next to a young girl about his age. He robbed that store to provide for his daughter, and Endeavor nearly killed him. Izuku pulled out a wad of 20,000 yen and stuffed it in the man's hand. Here, you run and get back to your daughter. Use that to feed yourself. What's your name? He asked kindly, and the man looked from the money in his hands to Izuku. Thank you. I'm Akira Uraraka. Is there any way I could repay you? He had pans on all of his fingers. Izuku mentally took note of them. Was his quirk a 5-finger touch quirk? Those were decently rare, but shit, Endeavor was still after him. Make sure you get back to your daughter safely. That's all I ask. With that said, he jumped into the alley and landed behind Endeavor. Hey, Todoroki, I heard you were looking for a future murder victim. Endeavor spun around with his arm ignited, staring down at Izuku. Who are you? What do you mean by future murder victim? If you keep chasing after that man, you would have killed him. He was just trying to get by. Izuku was cut off by Endeavor's voice. You helped the criminal get away. Put your hands in the air, villain, and come quietly. Endeavor flared up, clearly a fire hazard, judging by the small alley they were in. Endeavor flared up, clearly a fire hazard, judging by the small alley they were in, but he didn't seem to care. His ego was about as big as the flames constantly covering his body. I agree. The villain in the alleyway should have put their hands up in the air. Izuku snarked at the man. After a moment of silence, Endeavor quirked an eyebrow upward in confusion. Izuku gave a dry laugh. Well, go on, Todoroki, put your hands up. Izuku could see the rage on the man's face building up as the flames rose and burned nearby plastic. Izuku could feel the heat from 15 feet away from the man. Provoking him was a bad idea, but Izuku wasn't the smartest. After all, domestic abuse is rather unheroic. Izuku preemptively dodged the incoming blast of fire that launched into the street. But that doesn't mean he got out unscathed. The heat from being so close to the fire burned, but Izuku pushed through and shot his grappling hook up to the roof, landing with a roll. Todoroki, you dumb land-bound ass, is stuck down there. Endeavor interrupted himself by launching himself up about 5 feet above Izuku, hand extended ready to shoot flames at the boy. All Izuku could do all Izuku could manage to say as he dodged out of the way was, "Oh shit, the forever number 2 hero can fly." Izuku scrambled away from where the flames had impacted, patting out his flaming pants. He needed Mate to make him a fireproof concert. As he ran rooftop to rooftop, dodging blasts of flame on pure instinct, Endeavor shouted at him, "Get back here, you filthy criminal!" Weird that I'm the criminal because my mortality rate is 100% lower than yours. Izuku dodged another fire blast as it melted through railing. I'm also not the one destroying the city over a couple thousand yen. You know, it's really funny to me. Your mortality rate is actually incredibly high, but they're missing one. Izuku dove into the alley and started to sprint out to the outskirts of the city. He had a location in mind, and he was fully intent on going there to fulfill his plan. Who would that be, boy? Endeavor growled as he made chase behind Izuku, the latter rapidly approaching his destination. He flung himself up to the roof, careful not to damage any of the property, and dove off the roof moments later when a stream of fire launched at him and destroyed part of the roof. Endeavor launched himself into the air and shot a stream of fire at Izuku, sending him through the roof of a house. Izuku coughed up blood as he stood up and brushed off his costume, muttering to himself, "Goddamn flaming asshole piece of..." Izuku looked up when he heard a clang of metal, and his eyes met with two extremely confused stares. Morning." Shoto Todoroki was having a relatively normal morning. Fuyumi was making breakfast while Shoto studied for the upcoming UA entrance exam. Their father had gone out for a patrol, so it was a nice quiet for once. Until the roof collapsed in a dusty explosion. Shota startled, staring at the rubble, and saw someone shorter than he stand up, covered in soot and dust, brushing off his hoodie. He coughed under his mask, and something red leaked from his chin. Blood, Shoto thought worriedly. The man stood up, mumbling to himself, "Goddamn flaming asshole piece of..." Fuyumi dropped something because a loud clang of metal sounded throughout the house. He looked at the two sheepishly through his visor and mask. Morning?" "You have the audacity, villain!" Endeavor's voice rang out, and the man dove out of the way of a pillar of blue flame piercing the door. Damn, father must want this guy dead, Shoto thought. Before he knew it, the man was behind him. He pulled out a knife and took a defensive stance as Endeavor landed in the open, roofed living room. Sorry about this, Shoto. Promise I won't hurt you, the man whispered in his ear, barely audible. The next thing he knew, there was a knife to his throat, and the man had an arm wrapped around his chest. You're gonna let me leave or Shoto gets it, old man. Endeavor laughed at the man. He took an aggressive battle stance. You think my Shoto can't take the brunt of a fire attack? He launched a pillar of flame directly at them, and the man dove out of the way, still holding Shoto knife abandoned. Jesus Christ, Todoroki, you trying to kill another kid? I thought you cared about this one. Shoto froze. He said, another kid. How did the man know about Toya? Nobody knew about Toya. Everyone who did just assumed he died in a training accident, not murdered by their father. Endeavor clearly didn't like that he knew that, because he roared in rage and blasted another fire attack at the two of them. The man shot a grappling hook to the roof and launched the two of them above Endeavor and back through the hole in the roof. The man pulled out a drone and draped his flaming hoodie over it. As it flew away quickly, Endeavor launched out of the roof and chased the drone in pursuit. The man, wearing only a bit of armor and jeans, sighed and brought Shoto back into the inside of the house. God, that flaming asshole has no fucking restraint when someone pisses him off. How the hell is he still a hero? He looked up, realizing he still had an audience. Fuyumi was the first to speak. What the fuck just happened? Fuyumi asked, confusion and disbelief painted across her face. Shoto stood there, watching the boy rub the back of his neck guiltily. Sorry for, breaking the house. I'm Oracle, a vigilante who Endeavor hates because I do his job better than him. The man, Oracle, started to sway slightly, falling to his knees with a grunt. He rubbed the back of his head and hissed in pain, bringing back his hand covered in blood. Fuck. The bastard reopened my head wound. Do either of you know how to stitch a severe laceration? Hitoshi was gonna kill him. Izuku had asked the woman to check his wound, and she hissed at the slight sight of his hair matted down with blood. Is it that bad? It's probably gonna need a lot of stitches. Stitches we can't give you if you don't want to risk Endeavor coming back to us stitching you up, the woman, Fuyumi, said while she looked over the injury. I know he's your father, don't worry. To be honest, I know a lot of concerning things about Endeavor. Izuku trailed off, shrieking at the stares directed at him. He started to stand, speaking as he did. Anyway, Izuku started coughing, managing to get his mask off in time to let the blood come out clearly instead of splattering against the inside of the mask. He coughed into his arm, his shirt stained with blood. That wasn't a good sign, but it was something he could deal with later. He coughed up the rest of the blood onto his sleeve and placed the mask back over his mouth. I've gotta go. Sorry for the roof. With that said, Izuku climbed out of the hole in the roof and made his way back home. It was 5 months until the UA entrance exams. 5 more months to train. Every single day mattered, but yet, where was Katsuki? Walking down the street at night with a picture of stupid fucking Deku, asking around to see if anybody had found his body. Sure, it was 5 months after his suicide, but maybe he was alive? Hey, kid, what are you doing out here this late? Katsuki turned around at the gruff noise, seeing 3 people stalking up to him. One was incredibly buff, tattoos covering his muscles. The one to his left was skinny, small, and had 2 large horns sticking out of his head. To the man's right was a woman with 2 blades protruding from her elbows. 2 obvious mutations quirks, the last one probably a strength quirk. Katsuki swore to himself under his breath. He really needed to stop analyzing quirks. That was Deku's job. So why the hell didn't he just come back out and do it already? "Hey kid, we're talking to you," Horn shouted, and Muscles punched his palm to get Katsuki's attention. I said, give us your wallet and maybe we'll let you get off with only a few minor injuries. Katsuki scoffed. Crime rates may have gone down in the past month due to Endeavor being arrested by some shitty vigilante called Horacle or whatever it was, but that doesn't mean the crime rates were 0. Burn in hell, you extras. I don't have time for you. Katsuki strode off before being punched in the back of his head. He skid across the pavement before scrambling to get up. The skin of his knees and hands were scraped and bleeding, and he could see stars in the sides of his eyes. He looked up to the 3 who were approaching him. Give us your money or we'll do a lot worse than that, shithead. Katsuki got into a fighting position. Explosions crackled in his palms, still stinging. He grinned slightly, and that grin turned feral when he saw the man with horns step back. I've been looking to unwind a bit ever since those damn extras started to avoid me. This should be a decent outlet. Horns' face hardened at that comment, pushing past the other 2. A bully, huh? Let me at him. I'll pummel him so hard he can't walk again. Maybe I'll put him in a wheelchair if he's lucky. Then he won't be able to feel the pain in his legs. Horns charged at Katsuki, who sidestepped him and exploded his gut. Horns grunted as he slid back before charging again. This idiot keeps ducking his head and running straight at me, insisting on using his quirk, Katsuki thought. He'd do more if he just fought quirkless. Katsuki sidestepped Horns a few more times, landing a few more explosions. Horns just charged at him again, head down. Katsuki sidestepped preemptively, and Horns did a full 90-degree turns and took the explosion to the head, stabbing Katsuki in the upper leg and pinning him to the side of the wall. The man tore the embedded horn from Katsuki's leg and punched him in the gut. You ready to die, brat? Horns pulled out a knife and plunged it down on Katsuki. This is how I die, he thought. This extra with horns is going to stab me and kill me. Katsuki tried to roll out of the way, but his leg failed him. The knife came closer, and Katsuki slammed his eyes shut, waiting for the stab. Instead of the pain, though, he heard Horns scream out in pain. As he looked up, a throwing knife was in his shoulder, and 2 more in his arm. Katsuki looked up to see where they came from and saw a man in a green hoodie. He had a visor and a black mask on, the only recognizable part of him being his piercing viridian eyes. Murder is bad, you know. That's mainly why I opt for maiming people, which you've already done here. The man hopped down from the rooftop, landing on Horn's back and kicking him to the ground. He turned to the other 2 who were backing away. Don't try to play dumb, guys. I heard and watched everything. You're under arrest. You can't arrest people. You're a vigilante. Muscles shouted indignantly. I can slap you in a twist tie and put you on the police's front step with a kind note explaining your crimes, though. The man pulled out a long weapon, which Katsuki's brain supplied as a naginata because the nerd had loved them. He rushed towards Muscles, twisting out of the way of a punch at the last second and stabbing him in the thigh with the weapon. He pulled out 2 knives and used them both to block the woman's elbow blades and ducked beneath the swipe when he dropped the knives. He picked up the woman and chucked her at Muscles, who was mid-punch. Said punch connected to the woman's back and into the woman's back as she flew into the wall, shattering some bricks. The man knelt down in pain, grasping his arm. The vigilante walked up to the man kneeling and started to cover the bleeding wound. What the hell are you doing? He shouted at the vigilante, but made no move to stop him. You're robbing people because you need to support yourself, right? Nobody wants to hire you. A nod from Muscles. The vigilante stood up inside and kicked Muscles in the nose with a sickening crunch. Bullshit. You just crave violence. Same with the dude with the horns. The vigilante turned back to Katsuki, staring at the boy who was bleeding in several places. The vigilante chucked a cloth to him and started to tie the thugs. Press that against the wound in your leg. Don't let it bleed anymore. Go home, tell your mom, get to a hospital as soon as possible. I can't treat you that well. Who the hell are you? Katsuki shouted, making no move to do any of those. The man sighed and looked at Katsuki, Viridian eyes piercing his red. Katsuki knew that look. Bitter contempt. He had seen it in the teacher's eyes when looking at Deku. So why the hell was this random criminal looking down on him? It wasn't like he had done more than him. Oracle. Katsuki stood corrected. This man had done more than him. Oracle had just gone toe-to-toe with Endeavor and made it out a free man with minor injuries, allegedly. He was better than most pro heroes despite only being on the scene for 2 months, which means... Wait! Oracle! Katsuki chased the man, and before he could get within 10 feet of the vigilante, he was pinned to the brick wall by a grappling hook. What? I need to ask you something. Katsuki pulled out a picture of Deku and held it up to Oracle. Have you seen this kid anywhere, please? I've been looking everywhere for him. He killed himself 5 months ago. Oracle turned away, leaving Katsuki slumped against the brick wall and with the absence of the cable pinning him there. Oracle stopped walking away and started talking over his shoulder. I don't know why you will care. He just followed your advice. You think I don't regret saying that? If you're so all-seeing, then why the fuck don't you realize? I'm out here looking for the nerd because I fucking miss him. You miss your punching bag, Oracle started angrily before Katsuki cut him off. I miss my childhood friend. Katsuki bellowed at the man who was taken aback slightly. I miss my childhood friend who'd said we'd become heroes together. My friend who was always pestering me about my quirk. My friend who wanted to be a hero. I miss the damn nerd, okay? Katsuki didn't realize his voice had gone hoarse when tears started coming out of his eyes. I miss the kid who tried to teach me how to act in a sea of assholes who hated him. The kid who tried his best to set me on the right path. Sure, he failed, and he was annoying, but I cared for him, damn it. He was like a brother to me. Then why'd you tell him to kill himself? Oracle shouted, turning back to Katsuki. His Viridian eyes were burning with rage, intent to hurt. Were those what Katsuki looked like all those months ago when Deku was still alive? Why'd you beat him to the point of depression? Why'd you beat him to the point of suicide? He wouldn't break, Katsuki shouted back, explosions popping in his bloody hands. The bastard would always get back up no matter what. He took in a shaky breath. I know what I did was fucked up, and I don't deserve to get off scot-free for it, which is why I'm trying to help people now. I want to become a hero, not to be the best, but to save people. You said he wouldn't break, but he didn't he just do just that? He broke on a rooftop when All Might told him he couldn't be a hero. He broke far before that, though. He broke when he was told he was quirkless. Oracle walked up to Katsuki and shoved a finger into his chest, pushing him back slightly. When someone breaks, it's like glass. It doesn't always shatter Bakugou. It cracks over and over and over again until it can't bear its own weight, and it shatters from the inside out. That's what you did to Izuku. You beat the glass over and over and over again, because it wouldn't explode into glassy shards for your own amusement to put them back together. Izuku broke, time and time again. You're just too blind to see it. Oracle walked away before stopping once more. Even still, I'm sure if he were still alive, he'd forgive you. Oracle chuckled. Unfortunately, Izuku is dead. Oracle left the alley, dragging 3 criminals behind him, leaving Katsuki to sit in the alley alone for a while. After a bit, he went home, leg bleeding through the cloth provided. He had a lot to think about.